مشاهدينا في كل مكان، أهلا بيكم. بنجدد معاكم لقائنا النهارده وبنتابع لقائنا مع سعادة السفير صالح مطلوشن سفير دولة تركيا لدى جمهورية مصر العربية. في لقاء اليوم هنتحدث عن العلاقات المصرية التركية، فابقوا معنا وتابعونا.
Coming to Egypt, I was in Ankara for 2 years. And before that, I was in Saudi Arabia. I was the permanent representative of Turkey for the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which Egypt is a member. Turkey lies in the Mediterranean, in the Middle East, in Asia, Anatolian part, and partially in Europe. It is a peninsula, which means it is encircled by the Black Sea on the north and the Aegean Sea and Marmara Sea on the west and Mediterranean Sea in the south. Through the Mediterranean, Turkey and Egypt are neighbors. Turkey's flora, meaning vegetation, in terms of its diversity, is so huge in numbers that I think we have more than 5,000 different kind of flora. That because of the mountains, valleys, and because of the plains and the rivers. So as compared to Europe, the total number of flora in terms of plantation, diversity of the plantation, the vegetation, is equal to Turkey, that of Turkey. In the whole Europe.
مشاهدينا في كل مكان، اهلا بيكم. احنا معاكم النهارده بنستكمل حوارنا مع سعادة السفير صالح مطلوشن سفير دولة تركيا لدى جمهورية مصر العربية. Your Excellency, thank you so much for having us for the second time.
You are most welcome. Pleasure.
Allow me to talk in this episode about the Egyptian-Turkish relations and the history of it. So, what can we say?
The Turks came to Egypt in 868. So, modern Turkey is founded and settled by the Turks in Anatolia, today's Turkey, in 1071. But the first Turks came to Egypt 868, Tolonoğlu, Ibn Tolonoğlu. So he was an Abbasid Khilafa commander, was sent to Egypt, so he's established a state here. So our relations, Turkish and Egyptian nations' relations, date back to 868. One of the most beautiful mosques, Ahmed Ibn Tolonoğlu Mosque, is founded, of course, by Tolonoğlu. So, and then Ekşidis, another Turkish-speaking state, and then Mamluks and the Ottomans. So, and the Mehmed Ali Pasha was Ottoman governor, then Khedivate, they all spoke Turkish, they were Turkish Egyptians, and they established the kingdom here. And then modern Egypt was established by Mehmed Ali Pasha as narrated by the Egyptian historiography. And we are proud of this common roots, common past. This created, for example, in the 19th century, during the time of Mehmed Ali Pasha, Ibrahim Pasha, Abbas Pasha, Said Pasha, Khedive Ismail, Turkish was part of the life and government in Egypt. The Bulak printing house was established by Mehmed Ali Pasha, and most of the books that were printed in Bulak, in this modern printing house, was in Turkish. The official gazette that was first introduced by Mehmed Ali Pasha in Egypt was a page like one part Turkish and the other part Arabic. So Turkish and Egyptian nations are the two nations who interacted and mixed most in the world history, culturally, linguistically, politically, and naturally this created an affinity between the modern Turkish state, modern Turkish nation, and modern Egyptian nation, and modern Egyptian state. So this constitute an affinity, a love, and interest, a care between the two nations. So therefore, in the modern times, of course, we need to base our relationship beyond this on the basis of mutual interests, which would help both nations in terms of trade, economy, and development. And that is the most important issue and goal for both the countries.
If we started to talk about the investments, can you tell us about the volume of investment, the Turkish investment here in Egypt, or if there is an opposite saying?
Sure. The Turkish investments first started coming to Egypt in 2005, 6, and 7. And then since then keeps expanding. It was under President Mubarak, and the Prime Minister was Prime Minister Ahmed Nazif, and Minister of Trade was a person, a reputable person, a respected person with the name of Mohammed Rashid. So, and this team under President Mubarak, they decided to increase their cooperation with Turkey, with also a lot of encouragement with Mr. Mohammed Rashid, because he was a Turkish Egyptian. He spoke Turkish. His mother was Turkish, and he was very interested in developing this cooperation. And he persuaded his government. At that time, it was very important and difficult, and the Turkish government to have this free trade agreement. And that free trade agreement was signed, and there was also the Egyptian government's initiative called Qualified Industrial Zones with the United States. So that provided the textile investors in Egypt to export their production to United States without any customs duty. So that was the circumstance through which the Turkish investments came in. And since then, as I have said, it has been expanding. The Turkish companies are the leading companies in the textile sector in terms of export to third countries, European Union, and also United States. So we not only have investments in textile, but also glass industry and household goods and also hygiene. And many new investments are also pouring into Egypt, basically textile, but again in other sectors of the economy. And then I think that with the new government in Egypt, with the new economically focused government, development focused government, there will be many new facilities and incentives for the Turkish investors, new Turkish investors, to arrive in Egypt in the coming period.
Your Excellency, how do you read the Turkish president visit to Egypt last February?
It was a historic visit, and I think that in every aspect of it, both the substance and also the protocol and the welcome and the personal contact and the chemistry between the presidents, it went excellent. I think one of them, for me, the most important aspect and outcome of the visit was President Erdogan and President Sisi, together with the spouses, first ladies, visited Imam Shafi Mosque. I think that was a very heartwarming, very spiritual visit together. I was not also included. It was a very restricted group, just the families. And it was such really commonality that needed to be emphasized. Imam Shafi is highly respected as scholar, one of the four Sunni school of thought. We also respect. I came here in Cairo 2 years ago. I visited Imam Shafi. So therefore that visit is extremely, I think, spiritually heartwarming and welcoming. And the second aspect was the first ladies, their contact. They had a separate program. It was a very warm contact between the first ladies. As regards the substance, President Sisi, President Erdogan both agreed immediately that we should have this high-level strategic cooperation council. It is now signed between the presidents. It now constitutes this council the overall and supreme framework of cooperation between the two countries. You will see in the coming months that from sports to industry, from culture to tourism, we will be, as Turkey and Egypt, signing several agreements and executing under these agreements several projects to execute to the benefit of both nations. So these are all the outcomes of very successful visit indeed.
Those agreements also have things to do about the cooperation in the field of education, for example, or the health sector?
Yes, we have currently on the table draft agreements regarding the cooperation in health. We have an excellent cooperation and contract with the Minister of Health and Population of Egypt, His Excellency Abdul Ghaffar, Khalid Abdul Ghaffar is an excellent minister. Now he's become Deputy Prime Minister also. And his approach to cooperation with us, with all the countries, and his professionalism and dedication to improving and developing the Egyptian health sector is highly commended, and I highly appreciate that. And one of the first agreements that we hope we will be signing during the visit of President Sisi to Turkey will be in the field of health. We also have a draft agreement to promote cooperation between Turkey and Egypt in the field of higher education and scholarships. In the coming period, we want to increase the exchanges and educational scholarships between Turkey and Egypt, and because Egyptian young youth people and very educated, very talented, and constitute a good pool where we can actually provide many educational opportunities by scholarships in Turkey and vice versa. So, in fact, I received a call from the president of Higher Education Council of Turkey, who showed a lot of interest in visiting Egypt and concluding this agreement to strengthen the ties in higher education between Turkey and Egypt.
Your Excellency, we also hear the cooperation between Turkey and Al-Azhar. So can you give us a headline about this kind of cooperations?
Al-Azhar Institute is one of the leading, of course, centers of religious education and thought. In Turkey also historically there is lots of respect towards the Al-Azhar institution. And recently I visited Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, His Eminence Ahmed Taib, and I spoke with him about how we envision the future cooperation between Turkish religious institutions and Turkish education institutions and Al-Azhar. We would like to have, in fact, we are working on it currently, a dormitory for Turkish students studying Al-Azhar in Cairo. Now we are currently working on it. We would like to see that our religious institution, which we call Turkish Diyanet institution, the president would like to come and visit Egypt and to have talks with his counterparts, with Afkaf, with Al-Azhar. So we would like to see, of course, more students from Turkey studying Al-Azhar on governmental scholarship. Turkish Diyanet Foundation, Turkish religious authority would like to provide scholarships to Turkish students to study in Al-Azhar. So we have a wide horizon and potential in our cooperation with Al-Azhar, and my meeting with Grand Imam, in fact, initiated that cooperation. It was a very fruitful, very warm meeting between me and then His Eminence Grand Imam.
Your Excellency, Egypt and Turkey are both very famous tourism destinations in the whole world. So is there any kind of cooperation in this field between the two countries?
There is lots of cooperation. I was attending Africa Tourism Forum in Sharm el-Sheikh recently, a few months ago. And it was an Africa Tourism Forum. It was organized in a Turkish brand hotel. When I went there, I found that half of the attendees were Turkish tourism operators. So the private sectors are deeply cooperating with each other. And the owner of that brand, Turkish hotel brand, which is present in Egypt, spoke like 30 minutes about how to promote and develop tourism further in Egypt. And he was completely committed to promoting Egyptian tourism. And other attendees also, they talked about is how Egypt is of course, the most important tourism destination of Africa. And then they talked about the great potential and promise to reach 30 million tourists by 2030 of Egyptian tourism. Mm-hmm. And I think that the government has taken a lot of steps in this direction. Also in Hurghada, in Sharm el-Sheikh, besides Sharm el-Sheikh and Al Alamein, there are Turkish tour operators bringing tourists to Egypt from Russia, Kazakhstan, and many other places. So there is already great cooperation. Within the institutions, Ministry of Tourism of Turkey, Ministry of Tourism of Egypt, we would like to have closer cooperation in the near future. And within this High Strategic Council, we would like to achieve that also. And in the coming months, I'm thinking that it's highly likely that our Minister of Tourism may visit Egypt to talk about with their his Egyptian counterparts how to promote between the institutions tourism cooperation. Turkey, as you know, is one of the leading nations in terms of tourism. Egypt has this great potential and can reach easily the level that Turkey has achieved in terms of number of tourists, and because of this North Coast, Sinai, South Sinai, Sham Hurghada.
But only in the beach area, the coast, the north coast and the beach area, but not in Upper Egypt. Did you have any plans to go further to see the ancient Egyptians in Luxor and Aswan, for example?
Personally, you are absolutely right. This December, I would like to visit Luxor and Aswan, and that is the place together with Siwa I have not visited Egypt. So I know for sure that there is a growing interest by the Turkish tourists, by the way. The number has gone up, tripled actually, gone up 3 to 4 times since the Egyptian government took a great decision to facilitate the visa on arrival for the Turkish nationals. So I know, I'm following very close, that Turkish tourists are showing a lot of interest. They have a great interest in ancient Egyptian civilization, and they are visiting Luxor and Aswan. I want to also personally go. I also want to personally visit Siwa. So I'm very curious.
You haven't yet?
I have not yet. It's a long way to go there by plane or by road, so I have not decided, but this December, inshallah, I'm planning to go, and I'm very curious. I'm looking forward to it.
Did you see the Great Museum, the new Great Museum?
The Grand Museum, I have organized actually visits of the official delegations coming from Turkey to this museum, great museum, of course. I think that this represents the ancient Egyptian civilization in a modern setting, and I think that the whole world will be pouring there. I have not visited the Grand Egyptian Museum, but I have visited several times. I have been to the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, whose director is a close friend of mine. I always take each and every Turkish delegation, private or official, to this museum. National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. It's a great museum. And
also there we have the Islamic Museum.
Yes, Islamic Museum. I have visited that museum also. It's, of course, it represents our common heritage, and it's very interesting and very rich. But as I said, I have been to the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square once when I came here 2019. And it was, of course, very interesting for me to see the first time the mummies of the ancient Egyptian kings and the queens. So, yes, you are absolutely right. The cultural tourism to Egypt is another potential. So there is the combination, great combination of the sun tourism, sand tourism, but at the same time cultural tourism. And I would like the Turkish people, especially the older people, but also young, to visit Cairo, Luxor, and Aswan and Siwa, especially Cairo, because Cairo for us, Cairo is our common, in terms of cultural heritage, common heritage. So we find in cemeteries, mosques, everywhere, the traces and the monuments of our common cultural heritage. So as the Turks and the Egyptians, I'm extremely excited. Whenever I go to Old Cairo, I'm extremely excited. And get very emotional to visit cemeteries, the important historical personalities of our common past. I pay visit to them, to the cemeteries. And also the Ottoman mosques, Mamluk mosques, the Salahuddin Castle, Ayyubi Castle. So in terms of cultural tourism, Egypt is like a treasure.
That's great. Can I ask you now about the Egyptian cuisine? Have you tried the Egyptian cuisine, and what's your favorite dish?
I have tried, of course, Egyptian cuisine because I have great friends from Egyptian society, and they always invited me kindly, and then they prepare a lot of Egyptian food. I think I have to be honest, my favorite is fool.
Fool.
Yes, and I love to eat fresh Aish al-Baladi with fool. But sometimes, if you ask my friends, they will tell me I'm very honest, open about it. If I find good Aish, I eat Aish only.
Really? You like the Egyptian bread?
Yes, nothing but Aish. So these are also tamia. I love tamia. There are also many food that I tasted in traditional restaurants. They were great, but my favorite is fool. I think that fool has been in Egypt the last 7,000 years, since the ancient Egyptian times.
Yes.
And I think that it unites both the rich and the poor, the young and the old, the educated, uneducated, every person in Egypt, the fool. They all love. I love fool also. But if I find a good aish, good, well-made aish,
it's just
I
great.
love it.
Your Excellency, thank you so much one more time for having us and all the information that you have been sharing with us. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
مشاهدينا في كل مكان، وبكده انتهى لقائنا مع سعادة السفير صالح مطلوشن سفير دولة تركيا لدى جمهورية مصر العربية.